to the Mind and Money podcast. I'm Sherry, a financial coach.
And I'm Val, a financial planner. Today we are talking about a book that I received for Christmas from my lovely spouse. And I think he gave the gift and said, I hope you're not offended by this. So it's called ADHD Toolkit for Women. It's 2 books in one. So it's a workbook and guide to overcome ADHD challenges and win at life. Sarah Davis and Linda Hall are the authors on here. And what we're going to do is there's a little list in here on page 10, and it's check off the following symptoms that seem like you. So today I'm going to ask Sherry these questions or these symptoms and see what resonates to her. How do you feel about that?
I'm feeling a little nervous, and it's weird because like perfectionist tendencies for ADHDers, I find my perfectionist tendencies are coming up right now because I'm wondering if I'm going to be ADHD enough.
Yeah.
And like maybe I'm not going to answer these questions, and maybe TikTok's not right, but also maybe my doctor that prescribed me medication isn't right. So
it's that imposter syndrome that comes up because it's something that, I mean, I'm sure a brain scan could show us, but we can't physically see this. We can self-recognize ourselves. Yes, we can get diagnosed. Personally, I am not, but we can relate to enough things that we go, yeah, that sounds like me and that feels like me. But is it me? Like we
maybe I'm not. Maybe because I mask so well, and people around me who I mask to more, and I have stability. I have
yes,
I'm good with managing my money, which is sometimes a key indicator of ADHD. So it's like maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm just an imposter, a fake ADHDer. It's all a house of cards.
I think that you're going to realize that it'll be okay with this symptom list. Okay, so the first one is can't pay attention to details and make careless mistakes at your job.
Thankfully, and this is funny how I saw a post. I always have these stories about how I see a post. How there's this ADHD assessment question. It's like, do you have issues with, here's like an example for me, is like showing up on time. And it's like, well, no, but I have an intricate system that helps me make sure I show up on time, partnered with anxiety of being late and pissing people off. So it's like, what was the question?
So that's your way of masking in a way. So can't pay attention to details and make careless mistakes at your job. So that one doesn't necessarily relate to you.
Well, it does, but because we live in 2024 and there are things and tools that help me, so I can't spell worth shit.
Yeah.
And when I'm excited about something and I'm typing something out, I will skip words or put words in twice. But Grammarly, not sponsored, helps me it points out spelling mistakes. Yeah. It points out grammar mistakes. It highlights things. It suggests rephrasing. So, and I have a friend, bless her heart, who and my husband used to do this sometimes too. And I don't know if I've gotten better, if they've just given up on me because I don't actually correct things that used to be like, oh, hey, you did this on this post and this needs to be corrected. And initially I would correct them, but then I'm just like, because now I use a scheduler and I write one post and it gets dispersed to different social platforms. So if I've made an error and it went out on Tuesday to Instagram, it's maybe not going to go out on till next Tuesday on LinkedIn. It's like, so I don't have to just go and correct one post. I have to correct 7 of them. And maybe if it's a glaring mistake, I would, but
if it can still make sense.
And I've learned I need to test things when I put them in place and see if it's actually going to work. So
okay, so that one does relate.
Check.
Okay. Have issues with focus, such as staying on task or finishing activities, especially during conversations, reading, and lectures.
Squirrel.
Check. Done. Without a doubt.
Have you listened to any previous podcast episodes?
I've actually had it too at a couple conferences lately, where it almost not physically pains me, but I'm I feel like I'm in a cage to sit for that long. I have a really hard time, and then I'm not taking in the value of being there.
Yeah. And I've I've looked and I've added so many like fidget things to my Amazon cart.
Yeah.
And I've tried like some slimes once, but then from a sensory thing, they smelled too much so it's like figuring out things to keep your hands busy so that it's distracting you from.
You're able to focus without going on your phone, because that's typically my fidget thing, is going on my phone, which then you're removing yourself completely.
And when I have tasks that aren't as exciting for my brain, like listening to music or like Netflix on in the background, something that's like some of my brain can focus on so that the boring tasks feel less boring. I feel like my answer to that question, going on 6 tangents, means check.
Have problems following through on duties for your job or business?
Yes, I've talked about it before, and we talked about it this morning, like my win the day list. I hope the dopamine never runs out for that. Like I've been really good with it for a really long time.
Come back to this in 6 months.
And it motivates the shit out of me to get things done. So like yesterday, okay, full disclosure, yesterday I didn't finish my win the day list, but it wasn't because I didn't do things. It was because I put something on my list that required somebody else to do some things. So I still checked it as a win because I did as much as I
think
could.
that's fair. Absolutely.
But it's a really good motivator. And what I do is when there's something that I don't want to do, I don't put it on today's list. I put it on tomorrow's list. So
love that.
Because if I put it on today's list, then I don't know why it just works more to put it on tomorrow's list, but it's like, not today, but I still have to do it.
But it's on there.
Yeah.
Have been accused of not listening during conversations.
Check.
And I can actually find myself sometimes in a conversation. I know I'm not listening, but I want to. It's not typically with clients. It's more social settings. I want to be listening. So I have to like parent myself and be like, pay attention.
Yes. Or I love you, honey. But a lot of times it's with my spouse because like my circle, not shockingly, has a lot of ADHDers in it. We didn't realize that 2 years ago, but we realized that now with my longtime friends that I've had a lot of them since kindergarten. We found ourselves then. We knew then. The adults in our life just didn't know. But my spouse has like different interests than me. I love that. And I love that I can ask him the most random questions and he either always knows the answer or bullshits enough so that I think he knows the answer.
Yes.
But he loves golf.
Yeah.
Sports. History. And like lots of times he's telling stories. I'm like, shit, I really want to listen to this. And he delivers things at a much slower pace as a neurotypical. And I haven't done this in a long time because he finally told me that it annoys the shit out of him. When he was talking, I used to make this hand motion, a kind of like, like hurry along, get to the point.
Let's go.
And being able to not do that anymore. But I think he also really appreciates that if I'm scrolling on my phone while he's talking, it doesn't mean that I'm not listening. And that allows me to have that outlet where it's like I can still focus on what he's saying, but also like keep my brain engaged.
Interesting, because as someone that will scroll on their phone and listen, probably not as actively as I should be, but then I have a hard time if I'm talking to someone who's scrolling on their phone. Not a hard time of like, you're disrespecting me, but like I'll pause because I'm like, are you listening? But we are listening.
Yeah. Okay. And I do, even though he is a neurotypical, sometimes I find, because our interests are so different.
Yeah.
Like if I'm talking about automating something in my business and finding this like new tool, like he's like, yeah, that's
go girl.
That's great, honey. Like that's cool. And he does take a lot of effort to be really supportive by like interacting with my social media, like getting the old Instagram that he never had before. But just the interest level is different, and that's okay.
That's
And
okay. That's human.
yeah.
Okay. Have issues organizing your day, cannot manage time well, you often miss deadlines, or have been told your work is disorganized or messy.
So,
I feel like we've put a lot of systems in place.
yes, this is one of those like, no, because
But also, yes, that's yes.
I had, so like I went from, so I'm at a place now where I block out time to do larger tasks. So I went from, oh, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to do one, like, oh, my creative brain off the cuff, I'm going to do one social media post a day, to, okay, it's social media creation day, content creation day, and I'm going to create 7 posts, and like getting into the headspace for that. But also, I feel like we say this on every episode, something that I do want to talk about is also aligning the things that you're doing in your business to, as a woman who menstruates, to the cycle of the, like, the time of the month. Because I started taking, not medical advice, I started taking melatonin after talking to the pharmacist, because normal busy brain kind of like ticked up a bit since I started taking medication. So she said, like, yes, it's okay to take melatonin more consistently because having a full night's sleep is most important. So the first week I started taking it was actually like during the peak of my like cycle, during like right before and like during ovulation, where our estrogen and our energy and the estrogen and the dopamine, they're besties, and
bumping.
And I was going to bed at my regular time, but then, because I like to sleep, women often need more sleep than men, and that's okay. And was going to sleep and was at the regular time, was waking up feeling super well rested, like an hour and a half before my alarm went off. And I'm just like, holy shit, I've unlocked life.
But then,
and then cycle, like a week and a half later, it's like, oh, wait, what time is it? Yeah. I should get up.
Because nothing changed what you were doing, but your cycle and your hormones.
Yeah.
We need a hormone health gal on here. That's what we need. Okay. So, dislike or avoid projects that may require continued mental effort, like completing forms or preparing reports. Yes.
Or filling out someone's taxes.
Yes.
I do. It's a task that it's like, it's interesting to me because I want to make sure, especially for somebody who's self-employed and has some wiggle room with taxes. But yes, it's something that, again, I need that something else to keep my brain busy and occupied, or
I can like really hyper focus on it. I'll put it off and then I'm like, I need to get this done.
Yes. And I was up working. We're recording this the day of tax deadline in Canada, and I was working until 10 o'clock last night on taxes because, and I didn't realize what time it was until my husband texted me like, good night. I'm like, what? Also weird that he texted me, but I think he thought I was talking to people. But being able to,
I was talking to myself,
being able to like pull out of those hyper focuses is something that I think I need to be more aware when I'm potentially going into it, to set up like things like alarms and then like led to, I forgot to take my melatonin and I didn't want to take it at 10 o'clock. You're actually supposed to take it earlier in the evening, to like when your melatonin naturally produces. So then I didn't take it because it was later, and then my brain was racing because I stayed up too late. I worked too late.
Yeah.
Had a headache.
And your work wasn't complete. So then your mind is still on it.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So yes, often lose important items that you need daily, like cell phones, glasses, keys, and wallets.
No, but
because we've put barriers in place.
My keys always go by the door. Ooh, and I was thinking about this the other day. I have a lanyard on them so that they are really visible no matter where they are. If they're in my big purse, if they're in my little purse. And one of our vehicles has like the push to start. And sometimes it's just like, oh, my keys are in there. I have to get them out. Yeah, it's like a system of things that I need stay on horizontal surfaces. One, like I've talked before about, I love my Apple Watch for my calendar and showing me my calendar, but I also love it for like, I can hit a button and my phone will make a noise because my phone is perpetually on silent.
Yes.
And like not even vibrate, just like makes no noises ever. It helps me find it.
Yes.
But also like creature of habit with the things I do and the places
and
that I
having
put things.
Places for things.
Yeah.
I think is huge.
Yeah. Horizontal surfaces store all the things.
Even like keeping chargers in a certain place. Like don't move that charger or you're going to lose it. You become easily distracted.
Wait, what was the question?
Yes. Hard yes.
And I think it's one of the things that I read in a book that I was like reading too is about like giving your mind permission to be distracted though, because I can't remember the exact phrase was, but like some of the best ideas come from when we let our brains run free.
To give it a container to be flexible.
Yep.
Absolutely. You forget about daily tasks like chores, errands, keeping appointments, paying bills, and returning phone calls.
Oh, don't call me. I don't return.
You're like, I choose not to return those.
I was talking to somebody last night and the phone call like cut off like 3 times and she's like, I didn't push the button. I'm like, I didn't push the button. So I joked that it was like the universe being like, this can't be right. You're on the phone for too long.
Yeah. Ending this.
So no, but intricate systems for, so like I don't read a text.
I always swipe unread.
I don't fully, like, I don't even do that. Like, if I see the beginning part of a text is like, that's going to require some action on my part.
Yeah.
If it's not something, or if it's like, we voice memo a lot. It's like, I don't have time to do the thing. So I'm not even going to bother listening to it. And it's like, if it's urgent, like when you were coming to my house on the wrong day last week, it's like, that's a phone call.
I'm going to pick up the phone.
If it's emergency, it's a phone call. So it's like, figuring out, watch for appointments. If it's not in my Google Calendar, it's not happening.
It's not happening. Yep.
Like this Sunday night when I messaged you, be like, shit, I thought we were meeting on Monday. The text say Tuesday. I didn't put it in my calendar. So I'm like, wait, when are we meeting?
Yeah.
This week. So like knowing that things need to go in my calendar. I need to not open something unless I'm going to respond. It's like,
and taking that time on the Tuesday or on the Sunday, to look at your week, right? That was the first part of the symptoms. So it was the inattentiveness. The second part is hyperactivity or impulsiveness. So this book is breaking it down into 2 sections of symptoms. We're going to come back to the part 2. Put in the comments if this relates to you, or if we're going through these questions and you're going, or symptoms and you're going, yep, that's me. Yep, that's me. Yep, that's me. Or if there's something that you want more tools to know about what we do with them. Put that in the comments, share it with us, and we're going to come back with a part 2 for the hyperactivity or impulsiveness.
Which I'm very curious about because, like, from a hyperactivity perspective, like, I'm not the leg bouncer, the finger snapper, so I'm interested to see if it talks about hyperactivity from a brain perspective too, and not just from a physical perspective. So
it's both.
Come on back for that one, and we are glad you're here, and we can't wait to share the next set of questions with you. And be sure to subscribe so you get notified of our next episodes of the Mind and Money podcast. Thanks for listening.